So who are you guys?
We're Seesmic, and we're one of the most popular Twitter application and Facebook. And my name is Loic. I'm a founder and CEO.
Introduce your team.
Should I? Okay. Johann is our CTO, and we created the company together. And very shortly after, Marco Kaiser, who is our desktop lead and partner, and he created Twill, which was one of the very early, the second Twitter client. I think it's Twitterific first, then was Twill, and Marco joined us and is now one of the key partners of Seesmic and in charge of all the desktops.
So what's the date today? The 7th of November?
November 7th.
All right, and this is one of those interviews you hate doing because this space is moving so fast, right? I mean, I know you're coming out with a series of announcements over the next couple months.
It's going to be a fireworks at the end of the year. So when you publish this video, we'll have a few new products. Notice I didn't say only one out.
Why is this space so hot? What's going on in this? Because you make clients for Facebook and Twitter and other things, right? Why is this space white hot right now? Why are you guys staying up late at night kicking out new things?
Yeah, you've not slept much, guys, last night.
I know he hasn't slept, because this morning, we'll talk about what you just shipped this morning. But.
Well, the real-time web is being built real-time. And we really feel, we're doing this real-time. It's amazing. And so everything needs to be done very fast. First, the key players, Twitter and Facebook, keep improving with new features, like on a weekly basis now, almost on a daily basis. So since this video will be out after, they're going to launch Geo. We're going to talk about that. If you take only Twitter in these last days, geolocation, lists, we'll talk about that, I'm sure, and retweeting, just that. So imagine we're adding this on our current clients. We're adding this on Seesmic Web and Seesmic Desktop and on the new products to come, but just keeping up with this. So if you look at Facebook, they have modified the way like works. They then Twitter added retweeting, which frankly looks like. Behaves the same. Instead of reposting the whole tweet, as you know, you will just it's really like a like on Facebook. So
I wish they wouldn't call it retweeting, but that's up to them.
Yeah, I guess it's too late. It's all, but anyway, so just keeping up to the key players. And we want to be the screen, regardless of which screen, but the screen where people go to share on those networks. And it's Twitter and Facebook today, and there are many more networks that we will support as well. So just keeping up with that, you need to stay up at night. It's a race. It's a lot of fun. And also we're inventing, I think, all of the players here, we're really inventing new ways of learning and sharing, and it has to be real time. So I guess we have to create the features real time as well, all the time. People hit you if you don't have them.
You have to support different screens, right?
Yeah.
So you have an Air client, an Adobe Air client, the desktop client. You have a web browser client. You have an iPhone app coming out.
We announced an iPhone app.
It's on the page, so I know at least there's a button there for an iPhone app coming soon, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you're working on other mobile platforms. I noticed a Droid just came in the door here, so I'm sure that you're.
Oh, they like to check out cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other platforms coming, BlackBerry and Android coming as well. That puts a lot of strain on your teams because it's one thing to make something really great on Adobe Air, but it's another thing to make it run on, web, Air, and iPhone, and Android, and BlackBerry, and Nokia, whatever else is going to come down the pipe,
We're solving a very simple problem. Yeah. Is that to manage all these streams just from Twitter and Facebook, you have to go and check it all the time. Yeah. And if you look at Twitter, for example, it doesn't auto-refresh, so you have to refresh, you have to come back. We are solving that part. Both our products are self-refreshing and you can have it all on one screen. And we want to follow you where you are for sure. So I want to be able to leave Seesmic Desktop if I am on a Mac or on a PC and keep going if I have let's say a netbook and I'm mobile, I don't want to download anything. So I want Seesmic Web in there because I have kind of a big screen. And obviously if I'm going on my iPhone, I want to have the same. And that means that all the information needs to be synced We need to remember a lot of information for you, such as if you're a brand, for example, we're doing customer service over Twitter, and we have many brands using Seesmic, like HP, like eBay. I can't name them all, but many. And they want to be able to support their customers real time. That means at night. That means it doesn't, we used to say outside of the office, work stops, right? And now it's home and office is kind of the same. Well, with this new world, it's always like when I sleep, I feel like I'm missing a lot, and I know you too. Yep. And so we need our tools to support that. We need Seesmic to be in many screens.
So let's go back to today. What just happened today? What did you ship today?
We were the first client on Twitter to ship lists on Seesmic desktop application. That was early this week. Yep. And today we shipped lists on Seesmic web. That means you can display any list you want. So here is the tech news brand list. Yeah. And you can add a user to a list as well. So right there, if you roll over any user, now you can see I can add it. And so these are users from you. Really cool. So that's cool. So this is your list, right? Yeah. So I'm following your list. I don't follow all of your users because you did the work for me, and you've been amazing in creating lists, by the way. And now I can add any of your users to any of my lists. Wow. Right from there in a second. So we have that list support, which I think is very cool. We also added trends here, trending topics, and any search you want, obviously. Self-refreshing.
Now the trending topics, do those come from Twitter's trending topics, or are these trending topics based on the list itself?
It's not coming from Twitter.
It is coming from Twitter.
Right.
Okay. So, and they're changing how that behavior is happening underneath us too, right? Because they're trying to make it less spammy and more relevant to us. Tell me, what does lists mean? Because some people might not have really explored the list feature yet. What is lists in Twitter from your standpoint? Because you implemented it, so.
Yeah, I think it's a way to creating content and to bundle in one place content that talk about one topic or like one location. You can have a list. I got a list like San Francisco friends. I got a list like more technical about Java or Scala or whatever. And it's a really good way to catch up with one topic at one time. Sometimes when I'm home, I'm just catching up with what my friends are saying, and when I'm here, with all the tech stuff.
Yeah. The Huffington Post used it yesterday during the shootings in Fort Hood, right? They had a whole list of people who were covering the shootings. And it was an awesome way and it was a morbid event, but it was an awesome way to go to one page and see every news organization and people who were on the scene talking about what was going on. It was very powerful.
I think that answer one big problem with like the social stream, which is kind of information overload. And so we need to bring like filtering to that, and this is the first answer, I would say.
What happens when you see a new feature like retweeting or lists?
We don't see it per se. We are very lucky that we talk to Twitter and Facebook, but we talk a lot to Twitter these days to understand what they're building. And to give you an idea, last week we presented in front of a whole company at Twitter. Yeah. You can see tweets actually from there. And we presented them everything that we're preparing. So we gave it all to them, and they've been sharing stuff with us too. Yeah. Because we don't want to, we're not competing, right? We're just probably the largest team in their ecosystem, and going to launch, a lot of products that will show that we're.
Where I was going with that, in the first hour of my looking at lists, I hit the limitations, right? You can only have 20 lists. You can only have 500 people on a list. So right there, I'm like, is Seesmic going to help me build bigger lists, or group my lists in some way? So, because I already have lists, I'm having to split them out into 3 or 4 lists because I have 2,000 people who are like 2,000 tech companies. There's not just 500 tech companies in the world. So if I want to have the authoritative, complete list of tech companies, I have to have 4 separate lists now. And it'll be interesting to see what you guys do from a client standpoint. Another feature, we can't have lists of lists right now, right? So you can
We're
only
taking notes, Robert. Give us your
Like,
roadmap.
yeah.
And so do you guys think about that? Like, how could we give our user lists of lists
I think
without Twitter doing it?
Yeah, I think once again, Twitter is like really building foundation, and then you can build on those foundation and bring stuff that people want. Yeah. And as Loic said, we are like listening a lot to the community and trying to like see what are the needs for them and to answer that.
Yeah. And I think it's for us. It's important to first, if Twitter introduces such a feature like lists or retweets, well, first up, before they release it, they work with the developers and get feedback from them. So especially if you look at Retweets API, there have been some changes that were based on the feedback that came from developers already. So even before they launched it to the public. But in general, for new features that are coming up on Twitter or Facebook, for us it's always important to implement it in the way Twitter does first, and then see how the user base in general, not just on our clients, but in general, adopts these features and what they, as you said, as the feedback you just gave. So you used lists and you have feedback for that. Definitely we have our own ideas, but we are not just probably the average Twitter user. So and so we have to collect all that feedback and see what we can build on that, because I think especially on Twitter, the user base has a kind of a good history of doing that. So a lot of features that are now part of the Twitter system came from how users use Twitter. Example, retweets is the best example probably. Some people,
you should say you have already implemented that.
Yes, sure. We already implemented. So we had already access to the
I
API.
don't even have retweets yet, and you've already implemented it in your feature. Right. This is the kind of pressure you guys are under to ship new technologies that are changing, right?
So retweets or the mentions, the whole reply was something that users invented on Twitter. That was never a feature on Twitter. So it all came up like that, and for us it's basically the same. So we just have to look what the user base does on Twitter and then try to follow up and fulfill the needs that they raise to us and say us, okay, this is what we would love to do, and then we can see, okay, how can we do it with the API? Do we have to do our own stuff on top of that?
And we have an interesting work too, because we get hit actually when our users get into limits instantly. So we have to really work with Twitter very, very closely to achieve that. And also sometimes we obviously get whitelisted our own accounts to test. What's fascinating is really to discover features before they go up. So lists and retweeting are activated on our accounts for building it, basically.
What does your world look like underneath? Because you're getting the Firehose feed right from Twitter, and you're getting a lot of data from Facebook. What does that data look like on your screens? Because you're getting 10 gigs of new data from Twitter a day, something like that. Tell me what's coming through your system, through your infrastructure.
Well, yeah, we are processing quite a lot of data. We are not like caching too much right now. We're doing like really strict minimum, like to make our application work correctly.
So yeah, I think we have to deal with two different things, because our desktop clients, let me start from that, are just always talking directly to Twitter, so that doesn't affect our service at all.
For now.
For now. Yeah, always talking for now. The website definitely has the advantage of being kind of a client that's running in the browser. So everything you see there, you just load the application once, and then it's running in the browser. It's all based on Ajax, JavaScript stuff.
And you're one of the most advanced users of HTML5, because I just was at Google and they used you as an example of using.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. We have it. In fact, the demo's up this morning.
So at Google?
See it. But they, they explained that you guys were using HTML5 to display the things on the screen.
We're one of the most complex, if not the second most complex, they said Google Web Toolkit app after Wave. One of the most complex. Yeah. And they've been featuring us a lot, yeah. Yeah. You can explain why you chose that?
Sure. So Google Web Toolkit is a way to develop in Java, and it compile it into JavaScript and kind of port it for every browser out there. So the actual porting that we have to do on every browser is much easier than if we would go directly with straight JavaScript libraries. And plus, we have a lot of our infrastructure already in Java, so it's like integrating well with our current flow.
Yeah. How is programming today for this kind of live system different than it was for building Solitaire on Windows, for instance, or or a Microsoft Word on Windows, something like that, that doesn't need to be hooked up to the internet and doesn't need to be displaying. I mean, this stuff is displaying new live
Right.
tweets.
There's a lot of interaction. Like this thing is Seesmic Web is a web interface, so you have a server, and there's a lot of exchange, and even the server is using a lot of asynchronous exchange between all these components. So yeah, I would say that the main challenge is to deal with the fact that the internet is can fail at some point. Like Twitter can go down, or the API can get a lot of errors and stuff like that, and we need to deal with that.
And I think, especially not just for the actual communication that is happening, also the whole development process is completely different, because a Windows application like Solitaire or whatever, that was like a project, or even big ones like Office, that were projects that were running for months, had a requirements defined in the beginning, were developed, shipped, final. Today we have changing requirements every week because new features popping up on Twitter or whatever. So we have to be very agile in integrating all that new stuff into our roadmaps. We have to, as I said, we already worked on the retweets API, but we cannot ship it yet because it's a feature that is not rolled out. So we have basically to deal with different code bases that are already implementing new features, but that we cannot ship yet. So there's a lot of changes going on, and you have to.
How do you guys manage your source code?
We're just using Subversion repositories, so we are code management tools that we have. So we're branching a lot and just try to just try to keep up with what's happening, what we can ship, but already be prepared for what's coming in the next weeks, month, whatever.
And being prepared for when I show up, I'm like, all right, we need lists now. Yeah.
Well, and they shipped it, so you got a good team. Yeah.
But there's a debate, Robert, just before you. But there's always this debate, or quality versus ship early, right? And we love the ship early, ship fast, and often get feedback, iterate. But then it has a limit. It really has a limit, and they remind me this limit.
You're in a race to differentiate over other guys. There's other players in this market.
They're all versed in all the categories.
Yeah. And so you're trying to find a great feature that everybody talks about and says, oh my God, this was cool.
Well, I think our differentiator will be also to be available in many screens.
Yeah.
It's always a compromise between ship early and ship quality.
Yeah.
And I think the way we're going is more like, okay, let's probably not implement everything of that feature, but just make a first phase of implementation, like some basic support for a new feature.
For instance, can you show me geolocation?
Yeah.
Because the geolocation is a good example of that. We don't know where that's going to go. I mean,
it's not shipped by Twitter as we talk right now.
Right.
When they will watch, it will be up, right? But
right.
We already have it.
Because it's not shipping, not enough people have put their data into it, and we haven't seen a news story break around a certain geography, although Fort Hood yesterday was probably one. But when the plane crashed into the Hudson, I wanted to search only tweets that were within 20 miles of that location.
Basically, you roll over, we have a pin which we added, which gives you, if the user has updated, it gives you his location, and it's self-updating as much as the user updates, basically. And so here it's Ryan Salver at Twitter, who already publishes his location. He's one of the free users doing that. Yeah. And here, if you roll over, you can see his map, and we will have also resolving the address, so it will show in clear that you're 1550 Bryant Street right now. And it opens a new world, I agree, on around that, which is I want to only search what's happening around me, or if there are killings in Texas, you want to only search what's happening there. And it's also opening a new world which gets Twitter closer to Foursquare. Foursquare is already near Twitter because it posts to Twitter, but this way I think location will just be in all the Twitter apps.
Now, some users are going to be freaked out by this because what do you mean Twitter knows where I am?
It's only if you post your location.
Actually, you need to enable.
And are you going to have control of that on the clients?
Right.
So you're going to say, add the location where I am?
Right.
Yeah, you have in general, you have to enable it in your account settings on twitter.com. Yeah. So this is nothing we can control from the client itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is not a setting we can set from the client. You have to go to the Twitter website to, in general, enable geolocation.
Can you put a link in the UI and say
Yes.
you haven't
Yeah.
turned
Yes.
on your UI?
That's what we can do. But still, you have to go to a browser from wherever you're coming, and to do that.
And same on the clients themselves will remind the user, and you can turn it off for just one tweet if you like.
Very cool. In 1 minute, because we have 1 minute left, what's next?
Many more social networks. We will dramatically improve the experience on desktop as well, compared to what you see here. So you'll see a bit of news. And
So a new UI?
And then the server, I think we have a unique position being not only on desktop and mobile soon, but also on the web, because we can serve a lot of information from the web. And that should make a big difference, which you can't see right now, but we will serve information on all the clients from the server. So sync is one, which is obvious, but not only. We can tell you a lot about, I don't know, your new followers, you know, the new list you've been added to, why people, you know, unfollow you. The fact of having a server is very key, and more social networks. Anything I missed?
I'm going to jump in. Do you think we're going to see metadata around a tweet that you add in? For instance, if I say I'm going to go to In-N-Out tonight, why couldn't you go onto Yelp and find the review from Yelp and put that underneath the tweet?
One of the things we are thinking about.
We want to be, in a nutshell, what we want to be is we want you to be the center, not the services. You, building your community, talking to your friends. So whether it's location, we'll integrate, for example, Foursquare. We don't think we're competing with them. They have an API as well. You see what I mean? We want to really make sure that you are the center and that you post all your updates to the different social software. I think for status updates, obviously Twitter and Facebook will remain the big ones. But have you seen Yahoo, MySpace? You know, you can do status updates in LinkedIn. It's crazy. I think this is going to be like everyone will have status updates, and that we're embracing, helping it. I was saying, I think we will laugh at the times, which is today, when we had to update them all. And we want to be the player of, you know, key player around status updates. I think it's going to be huge, obviously.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, and
Thank you, Robert.
get back to work so I can get more features.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.